Shall we start then? Welcome everybody. We flipped things around a bit in that Ros thought I needed more practice at being chair, so I'm going to be chair today, and she's going to host. So if we go around and do some introductions. Ros, you had a couple of really good ideas for questions. I've forgotten
them. Okay, favourite lockdown snack?
Okay, brilliant. So this time I'm going to go around in the order that I can see you. So if you say who you are, where you're from, and your favourite lockdown snack. So next to me, I've got something that says connecting to audio. So we'll leave that for a bit. And then moving along, we have David Power.
Right, I'm from AbilityNet, and should we say that my favourite lockdown snack has been homemade focaccia bread.
Oh, fantastic. Made by yourself?
Yes.
Okay, moving along, thank you. Joanne Wong.
Hello everyone, my name is Joanne. I'm working at a homeless hostel in Bradford, and the organisation is Humankind Charity. And my favourite lockdown snack is homemade custard tart. So,
everyone's making their own, fantastic.
Yeah, well, we've got time at home now more at home, and then making all food, you know, all this stuff. So that's good. It's been great.
Well, it's nice to hear something positive about lockdown then. Yeah, okay. Thanks. Jane? Hi, Jane.
Oh, so I unmute myself. Hi, I'm Jane. I work at Equality Together, which is a disability charity. Lockdown snack. Mostly anything I can get my hands on, but I've been making a lot of soup as well from the lunches, trying to keep healthy lunches.
Homemade soup then, very good. They're healthier. Next to Jamie, we have Haji Singh.
Hi everyone, I'm Haji Singh. I'm a volunteer training coordinator with Aspire iGen, and at the moment I'm just finding that anything with chocolate, I'll have it. Simple as that.
Never mind homemade. Let's just
never mind homemade. Anything.
Okay, I'm a bit like that. Thanks, Haji. Okay, next to Haji we have Charlotte.
Hello, I'm Charlotte. I work for Ilkley Good Neighbours. I run their shop assist scheme, and I guess we've made quite a few homemade pizzas. That would probably be the lockdown snack.
Oh, fantastic! Good things to do with the kids as well. Yeah, okay.
Exactly.
Get rid of the leftovers as well. Thanks, Charlotte. Lucy?
Hi there. Yeah, I'm Lucy. I'm manager for Ilkley and District Good Neighbours, so work with Charlotte as well. I'm going to cheat, I think, because we've made a lot of homemade things that I've loved during lockdown, but this time of year is my favourite when the Cadbury's cream eggs come out, so that is my favourite.
And why not? We all need a bit of cheering up at the moment. And that's cream egg. Yeah, thanks, Lucy. Okay, and Ruth?
Hi, I'm Ruth. I'm from Refugee Action, the volunteer coordinator there, and I've gone for pre-packaged salty goodness of pretzels. They've got me
Why
going.
not? Can't be a pretzel. Okay, thanks very much, Ruth. And I'm going to deviate slightly and go up to Rosie, who I can now see who. Oh no, Sonia. I was going to say you look like Sonia to me.
I have to change the name. I have to keep doing that. We've got one account.
I don't know if you could hear what was going on then, Sonia, but we're just kind of introducing ourselves and like saying what our favourite lockdown snack is.
Oh, well, that's interesting because last Monday I had a tooth extraction. It was horrible. So I had a sudden weekend of the most horrendous pain, like in 48 hours. And then I was lucky I got an appointment and they took my tooth out. I was absolutely mortified. I've never had that happen ever. So I am now like sipping protein shakes and soft food and water and mashed potato. That's my lockdown snack at the moment.
Oh, well, it's what you need to eat, isn't it, I guess. I could probably do a similar kind of diet at the moment, I guess, but I'll come to that later. Okay. back on track. Sally.
Hello, I'm Sally. I'm the volunteer coordinator at Carers Resource. And my lockdown snack, a bit like Hadji, is anything that's chocolate, really, I'm afraid. I don't have the, I'm too lazy to actually bake anything. So just rate the chocolate, anything just to give that bit of sugar boost, really. Yeah.
Anything to give you a bit of a positive mood swing, I guess.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay. Thanks, Sally. Okay. And Danielle?
I'm Danielle. I'm the volunteer coordinator for Guide Dogs, and my favourite lockdown snack is going to go back old school to the old banana bread that started in the first lockdown. It was a classic and very tasty.
Lovely. Homemade stuff, yeah?
Yeah.
Brilliant. And Adelaide?
I'm Adelaide. I'm from Steenput. I joined a couple of weeks ago, and my favourite snack is just like, is it Danielle, what she said? Banana bread as well. Easy peasy.
Brilliant. Yeah, is it? Okay, I might give it a go. Right, thanks. And Mary?
Right, I'm Mary from Community Action Office in Ilkley, and I'm going to be honest and say to you, my lockdown snack go-to has been my Beck's Blue. But it is non-alcoholic version. And when I get that at the end of the day, whew, it's over.
Okay. I'm not sure we're allowing drinks, but okay, we'll let you have that one. Thanks, Mary. And Claire?
Hi, everyone. I'm the Volunteer Service Manager at Bradford District Care Foundation Trust. I've got too many snacks to talk about. I'd like to say that I've eaten loads of fruit, but I haven't. I really enjoy baking, so it's usually anything that I bake on the Sunday tends to last us. But I have to have a really guilty pleasure admission is during lockdown, we've been going to our local Costa when we walk, and we've been having a nice latte when we walk, and that has been our nice guilty pleasure, I have to admit.
Very good. And you get exercise as well.
Well, that's the hope. Yeah. We get a little luxury with our exercise.
Thanks, Claire. And Warina? Can you hear me, Warina? I think you're still on mute. There we go.
Yeah, I think that's me. It's actually Alison Warren, so Warren.
Got ya. Hi, Alison.
Yeah, so I've been, I think first lockdown was chocolate, so second lockdown is smoothies. So yeah, I've been trying to be healthy. I'm eating frozen mango, trying to eat healthier snacks in the evening. So yeah, smoothie in the morning and then healthy snacks later on. I'm from Victim Support. I'm a volunteer manager. Been there just a couple of months. So yeah,
welcome.
My first meeting. Yeah, thanks.
I might take your advice actually and go a bit more healthy. Esther.
Good morning.
Good afternoon.
Oh yes, that's it. Gosh.
Does
Yes.
it matter?
No. What am I saying?
I don't know.
I missed the beginning there.
Oh, what's your favourite lockdown snack? What do you go to?
That's just too wide and vast to sort of anything really. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. It depends if I want a biscuit or fruit or whatever. I don't know. I'm not a great eater at home. It's when I'm at work I'm really bad because I can just go to the shop and stock up. Whereas at home I can pretend to be healthy.
Okay, very good, thank you. And then people have swapped around. That's confused me. Danny Ward.
Oh, hi, I'm Danny. Yes, Danny Ward. I work for a Bradford Perinatal Support Service, so I am the volunteer coordinator for that service. And in terms of lockdown snacks, anything you can just eat with your hands. So crisps, chocolate, biscuits, yeah, in and out of the fridge every day. I'm getting a bit of a tan from that light, I think, in the fridge every time I open it. Yeah, anything.
Sounds like me, yeah. Very good, thank you. And Sharon?
Hi, I'm Sharon from HFT, supporting people learning disabilities into volunteering. And my favourite snack hasn't changed anyway, so it's AP salted peanuts.
Oh, lovely. I prefer dry
All
roasted
right.
myself. Yeah, very nice. And we're getting towards the end. So, Emma.
Hi, I'm volunteer coordinator for Better Start Bradford. Favourite lockdown snack? I suppose it has to be flapjack. I made it once and now my partner requests it all the time. So it's become a thing.
Must be doing something right then. Yeah.
Yes, both.
And then Joseph. You're on mute, Joseph, I think. Yeah.
Joseph just sent me a message saying he can't join in. Oh, you might be able to now.
Sorry, I was running a bit late. Yeah, so Joe Wyatt from the Springfield Centre, just restarting up our programme there, the youth centre there. Favourite lockdown snack? We've been getting lots of pastries and Scotch eggs from a local butcher's / bakery, and they've been very nice. So.
Oh, sounds awesome. I bet they're not doing your waistline much good, though.
Yeah, well, got to do your best.
Okay, and Ross, that's yours, is it?
I could eat a whole box. But what I generally turn to is bread that my husband makes, which is amazing, and tahini, you know, sesame seeds, then with a bit of honey on, just to make it really sweet, and then like sunflower seeds, and I could eat that all day. I do eat that all day, thank you. And these. Anyway.
Okay, I think that's everyone. So I'm Steve from Volunteer in Bradford, and Ros has made me chair today, and I've resorted to just having bananas now because I put on so much weight since Christmas. It's just, I've never been so rotund, so I'm just on a banana before breakfast, before lunch at the moment. So there we are. Okay, thank you everyone, and welcome to the Volunteer Managers Forum. We do have quite a busy agenda, and first up we have a guest speaker who's introduced himself already. It's Dave from AbilityNet. So Dave, take it away.
Right, let me just go and share screen. Hopefully that one, you might be able to see that screen up there. Can everybody see is a so a minute, I've got the wrong screen share, I think. New share, I'll try and get the right screen coming up. It's that one I want to share. Can everybody see a solid screen with the presentation on it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is I'll try and make it to about 5-10 minutes, and talking about the work of a national charity called AbilityNet. It's listening to the people on the call. This is an audience where a number of your clients might find it relevant. So basically, AbilityNet is a national charity fundamentally around ensuring that, well, let's just say that's what I'll try and cover very briefly today. So the fundamental aim of AbilityNet is to ensure that the digital world is accessible to all. That's the overall aims of the charity. It's supported by IBM, Microsoft. We do work with Football Association. We do workplace assessments for people who have got a disability returning to work. And we do a number of work on, for instance, like websites to ensure that websites and apps such as the Barclays mobile banking app are accessible to anybody who's living with a disability. Now, what we do is that provides the funding for the charitable side, which is where I'm involved with, where what we do is we offer free help and assistance to people who are over online. And basically there is a free national line, and what the scope of that service is, it will provide some advice over the phone for anybody who's got difficulty with being able to use a computer. There's a number of things around the place that we can do. So for instance, like if somebody is looking for any form of guidance, or they are struggling to be able to use a computer, or they've been just given a computer and they sit there and say, I don't know where to start. That's where we can provide that basic level of support. It's focused on people who are living with any form of disability. So if you have clients who have, say, cancer, Parkinson's, or visually impaired, or deaf, or have a learning disability, who need some assistance, then that's where we can provide assistance focused on being able to get them to be able to use and work. So I've had a request from somebody who's visually impaired who wants to join in on a Zoom call and doesn't know how to do that. So that's the type of area where we come. On the website itself, there's a number of free resources. So maybe I'll just go through very simply. There's a set of fact sheets. So if somebody's got Parkinson's and they're not quite sure what could be done or how things could be adapted to make that easy, there are devices such as a keyboard that has a clear plastic grid over the top of it, which means that rather than you just thinking you're typing an A, if you've got, say, finger tremor and you're struggling, well, maybe rather you can put a guard over top which says you have to punch through a hole to get to A rather than S. But it doesn't mean you get more accurate typing. It ranges to that type of technology, or to using something like Siri or OK Google or smart speakers. Any of that type of thing which helps people to be able to make better use of what's going on. The other aspect on the website, and I can send this set of slides to Steve afterwards, is we have run a series of webinars, and those cover particular conditions. They cover how to stay safe online. It's a whole raft of range of aspects to help people to be able to use, and those are free webinars available for anybody. You can just download and listen to them, and they're probably about fortnightly, and they've been going on with a whole long back history of different webinars on different topics. Some of them are more focused to the commercial side of the business, but a lot of them are on the free and the appropriate for people who just want to have a bit more help, and they don't really want to have somebody sitting on going on what's going on with them. And the other aspect online is a section of the website called My Computer, My Way. I think that very much emphasizes the basis of what the service is. We're not one of these mass services. You roll up, you have a course or something like that. I've had somebody who's been on courses and they struggle and they can't cope with it. They just need some one-to-one tuition, and that's where we can step in. So it is very much adapting and making sure that the computer is set up as the best it can be to adapt to that person's individual needs. So, and My Computer, My Way looks at different types of conditions. So it's looking, for instance, for somebody who's got a cognitive type of impairment through to motor, hearing and vision. But the bit which is why I want to talk to you today is there is a free volunteer support service. And basically, this is a service that I coordinate across the whole of North, East and West Yorkshire. We have free, and it's a national service, so it's not a case of, even if you know somebody who's, say, down in Poole who's struggling, this talk is equally applicable, and the service is available throughout the country. And we have got 300 volunteers spread across the country, and we basically, under normal circumstances, we would go to somebody's house and help them to be able to get on a one-to-one basis, going through to set up a computer or use a tablet. Also, for instance, help as far as we can with, for instance, like if somebody suspects they've got a virus on their computer, we will provide that assistance totally free of charge. But a lot of requests I'm getting at the moment are for coaching and help, but it does cover technology and how to set it up and how to adapt it. As an example, prior to lockdown, I had a referral from Barnsley Assisted Technology team in the NHS team down there, where somebody who was quadriplegic, who wanted to be able to browse the internet just using speech alone. And he wanted to be able to use the internet purely normally, just be able to use a computer screen, and that's where we provided the assistance to plug the various bits of programs together so that he could actually, from the residential bed in a care home, he could do everything just on the screen without having, so doesn't have to use a mouse, doesn't have to use the keyboard, can just do everything, flicking along. I've mentioned briefly what we're doing at the moment, which is around the place, is we suspended the home visit element, but we now offer we do all of our support remotely. So that is where it comes from. It's basically, I'm using Zoom and other similar technologies to provide support for how to use a mobile phone, tablets, and computers. So the important thing is we don't provide equipment, but we can help people who have got equipment make better use of it. And I think that's an important aspect, because often charities can find equipment or they can get equipment for them, and then it's suddenly left a hole is, how's that person going to actually make effective use of it? And that's very much where we are there. And I will just leave you with a very simple question, a very simple prompt. If you make a note of what I've said here, it's a national service, but I'm living in Harrogate, and I used to do some work up at the 1 in a Million school when it was a charity, on the charity side of that. But anybody who wants to get in contact with AbilityNet is just to ring that number, 0800 048 7642. And it's, from what I've heard this morning, a lot of you will know clients who might well benefit from the service, and that's what I'm here to do, to try and make certain that you can pass that message down through your client base, but there's help out for people. And I will stop my sharing.
All right, that's brilliant. Thanks, Dave. Just to remind everyone that this meeting is recorded and will be available on either the university's YouTube channel or ours, and you'll get all the information that we've discussed in this meeting via a newsletter as well, and some additional stuff. But while Dave's here, does anyone have any questions? I suppose my question, Dave, is are you currently kind of actively recruiting volunteers? Are you short of volunteers at the moment?
Yes, we are always interested in having good volunteers. By good, I mean Yorkshire has some pretty remote areas. And I've had people who, for instance, this type of volunteering role is very much suitable for somebody who is either in paid employment or is looking for, have taken recent retirement and actually wants to do something around that area. I wouldn't describe it as being particularly suitable for somebody who's looking for work experience, and because the volunteering is very much in response to requests. So from that viewpoint, it is very much, we react to requests. Now, we recently did some promotional work on Facebook, and I think I must have had something like, normally I might get 1 request or 2 requests a week across the whole of the Yorkshire area. I think I had something like about 10 requests in a week. No, sorry, 10, I was getting something like about 20 odd requests in a week, I counted up, which was how Facebook seemed to be able to reach parts which these type of talks can't. So I'm keen to actually hear guys who are technically literate because it is using. I'm not so worried about people who don't have experience of assistive technology, because that you can pick up, but it's people who like a bit of a challenge and want to provide a difference, but also are normally have access to cars, because there's some remote disability doesn't seem to know anything about being just purely in town centre. So I tend to find that can be a problem about where people are, because I've had a request from Melbourne, which is a small village off the River Derwent between York and Hull, halfway between the two. And this person was a mile up a farm track. So you can't really get there. The buses don't run to Melbourne village at all, because they just go straight down through Pocklington that way. And again, up in the Dales, it's a lot easier to have people who are more flexible and don't get stuck having to try and go by public transport. So really having your own transport for the Yorkshire area is key. Now, Charlotte, I can see there's a little hand on your finger saying, is there a question you want to raise?
Good spot, David. No? Okay.
No, I didn't put a hand up. I didn't think to. I have dealt with AbilityNet in my previous role. I used to work for Worth Connecting, and I had a conversation, if not with yourself, but with one of your colleagues, about using AbilityNet for one of our clients. So I'm aware of your services, and certainly referred them to this client, but I'm not sure whether he ended up taking up the referral. So.
But it's very flexible. And, you know, at the moment, it's a very quirk. This morning, I'm working with somebody who's actually in Bulgaria.
Wow.
Not normally the scope of the service, but this person has a form of dyslexia, which means she struggles with complex images. Jane, I can see a little hand.
Yeah, would you have any resources that you can share so we can share it on our social media? Presumably you want disabled people and people with long-term conditions to be able to become aware of your service.
Yep.
Can you share some stuff with us so she can circulate it so we can share it on our social media?
Well, I can provide. I've got a whole raft of stuff. So if you let Steve know your details, and I can have a direct conversation with you, and then we can chat through what's appropriate for what you think around the place.
Cool.
Okay, anyone else? Rose, is there anything in that looks like there's some stuff in the chat? Is there anything we need to?
Sorry, no, we're just talking about chocolate biscuits.
Oh, okay.
But that was before Dave started. So yeah, David, if you want anything for general consumption by the masses, then feel free to send it to me, and I'll send it around to everybody. Even if it's just a little advert or something, I'm happy to share that. If that helps you.
What I would say is, if I can find it, we do have we've got an A5 flyer that I can send out, which we have used to just give out around the place, and that's been quite useful. It's around COVID particularly, but we've got a whole raft of these flyers, which I've got a digital version which I can let you have, which is you can be shrunk to put into newsletters to just raise awareness.
Right.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you, David. And as it's now my turn to speak, my internet just saying I'm unstable, and my daughter's decided to make her lunch. So, but we'll see what we can do. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about a new initiative that we're kind of launching to the public next month. So it's a new way of being able to promote volunteer opportunities across the district. So let's see if I can share my screen. Well, hopefully everyone can see a swimming pool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so yeah, I don't know if you can see the text under there, because all I can see is some pictures along the side, but it basically says Bradford and District's digital volunteering platform powered by something called Volunteer Plus. So the idea is we're launching a new alternative way to promote volunteer opportunities for all organisations who deliver services across the district. It's actually online at the moment, and I'll show you it a bit later, but we're not launching it to the public until next month. I'll explain why we're doing that and why we're launching a new platform. You also might think it's a bit odd time to do something like this when you know, there's a lot of services that have changed the way they deliver, so aren't using volunteers in the same way or aren't recruiting as many volunteers, and we're in this kind of lockdown situation. But it's where we are at the moment in terms of I have some funding to do this and it has to be spent by March. So we've had to kind of get on with it now. But I'll talk a little bit more about the process and why we're doing this as I move on. Okay. So currently, the way we encourage organisations across the district to promote volunteering is via the Do It website. So a lot of you here will have accounts on the Do It website. And we're usually an admin of that account as well, so we can direct volunteers for your opportunities that we see via our drop-ins and via our own database. So that's how we currently promote volunteering, your volunteer opportunities across the district, and that's how we encourage you to do it.
Right down in the car, or need to walk, anything like that.
Someone's having a more interesting conversation, but anyway. Okay, so there's that. That's how the Bradford Volunteer Centre does it. And then Keighley also uses Do It, but they also use their own online system called Simply Connect or VC Connect. So that's just kind of separate database. So you can see there's already two different versions there. What we wanted to do was try to bring everything together so that it was on one platform. So if you want to volunteer, you just go to this website and you can search for opportunities. If you want to promote your volunteer opportunities, you just put them on one website and they're available for anyone across the district. So that's the situation at the moment. Why are we moving away from Do It? I mean, I've been around so long, I've sat through about 7 different versions of Do It, and to be honest, the older versions were much better than the system we're using at the moment. So there's been a lot of feedback from volunteers that they haven't found it a particularly useful website to use, often difficult to navigate. They say that sometimes they don't get, or often they don't get any response when they apply for volunteer opportunities via Do It. And there's a number of reasons for that. Some of the stuff on there is quite out of date, and some organisations kind of forget what they put on to Do It. And yeah, it's the next point really. So volunteers are looking at this site expecting there to be up-to-date current opportunities. They apply and turns out, you know, they stopped existing 18 months ago. So there's that kind of, there's not enough policing of what's on there really, I think. And then quite often as well, you get national organisations who'll post generic opportunities on there, which, you know, might appear to be available across the entire country, but in reality, quite often they're not available in our area. But just the way that Do It's search facility is set up, it flags them up so people think you're applying for something that's local when it isn't. So that's some of the reasons or some of the issues that volunteers have flagged up to us. So in terms of organisations, obviously this doesn't apply to everyone, but some of the things people have said to us is that it's sometimes difficult to register on Do It. You have to have 2 accounts, I think. You have to register as an individual and then as an organisation. And certainly recently, while I've been going through the changes, because I know Do It's in the process of updating itself to Do It Lite, we've had even more response from organisations saying they can't get onto the site. So it's the awkwardness of it, I guess, really. Often the conversion rate of people who volunteer and actually end up volunteering is quite low. I mean, that's the same with a lot of the digital platforms, but it seems to be particularly prevalent within Do It itself. and groups get very limited information in terms of the volunteer when they make an inquiry. It might just be an email or phone number. Quite often volunteer applications come from people from outside of the area. So, you know, you put in this fantastic opportunity which has really appealed to someone, but then you get someone from Newquay applying for it, and it has to be delivered in person in Bradford. So it's not really suitable for them. And the other thing is it's difficult to track inquiries. So it's difficult to know if an inquiry has been dealt with, if someone's actually ended up volunteering. So those are some of the criticisms or issues we've heard from organisations, and hopefully some of that might ring true for you. So the background to this is across the country there are a number of different systems in place. DoIT's used by about 60 or 70 of us, if you like, volunteer centres or infrastructure volunteering organisations. So it's still quite a popular platform to use across a lot of the country. But a lot of people are moving away from it and considering alternative platforms. I'll just give you an example more locally. So in West Yorkshire, Leeds left DoIT quite a long time ago now, and have tried various different platforms. The current one they're using is something called B Collective, which is used across the whole of Northern Ireland. Other parts of West Yorkshire, Kirklees have built their own volunteering platform, and as have Wakefield. So you can see that people, you know, are picking up on various different options. There's no kind of one size fits all, shall we say. So as both individually and as an organisation, we've been looking at an alternative to DoIT for a number of years. So I've spent more hours than I'd care to share with you talking to various developers with various different platforms via Zoom and being blinded by technology. We looked at B Collective site, we looked at the BC Connect site that Keithley used. We have looked at, what else we got? Oh, something called Volunteeroo, which is an app which we might still use as well as this. So it's really useful when it comes to recruiting volunteers for kind of emergency situations. So, you know, the kind of response to the pandemic, an app like that might be really useful. There are a couple of others whose names I forget. But to be honest with you, the reason we didn't go with any of them and we've gone with this one is largely due to simplicity. The site we've gone with, we feel is going to be easiest and most intuitive for both volunteers and for organisations. So that's kind of why we've gone with this thing called Volunteer Plus. It's used by about 50 or 60 of my colleagues across the country, all of whom rave about it. So let's just see what happens. Okay, so what's next? The advantages of using this new system, and as I say, it won't be live and or we won't be promoting it to the public until February. February, we're in February, I'm losing track of my months, until March, is that it's entirely based around opportunities within the district. So the only opportunities that will be on there are ones that happen within Bradford and district. It's, we believe, very simple to use. We're kind of testing it out at the moment. I'm going to invite you all to have a try with it. Whether you've got live volunteer opportunities or not, doesn't matter. The main thing at the moment is just get you registered on it and tell us what you think of it. Is it easy to use? Because we're still in, I think I'll use a building term, we're still in kind of a snagging phase at the moment. So if there's things you don't like about it, we can change anything on it. But yeah, I mean, I've tried it myself. I think it's quite straightforward. So setting an account up is very easy, I believe. Some of you might have already had the opportunity to do that, and we can talk about how you found that later on. It's really simple for a volunteer to register on the site as well. It enables us to create widgets or buttons on the site to promote particular roles or events. So if you've got a one-off event coming up that you desperately need a team of volunteers for, we can highlight that. If you're struggling to recruit volunteers for a particular role, we can highlight that. We can, we have the ability on there to generate a myriad of different reports in terms of volunteer demographics, age ranges, postcode areas, all anonymised so that you're not sharing any of the volunteers' personal details. It gives us the ability to track volunteer applications so people don't get lost in the system. So, you know, if I'll give you an example, if you've got a volunteer coordinator who works for you who leaves and then forgets to hand on passwords and things like that, we can pick up on that. If you don't have anyone within your organisation who has sole responsibility for volunteers, then you know we can kind of support you with that, with this online system, by kind of chasing applications up for you. And it automatically syncs with both your social media feeds and ours. So you can post an opportunity on here, and then by a click of a button, it instantly appears on your social media feeds and ours. So hopefully those will sound like advantages to you. Okay, so why should you use it? Well, it's only going to be available for not-for-profit groups who operate in Bradford and District. So that's both for statutory organisations and for charities, community groups. As long as you're doing good in Bradford and District, you can advertise on the site. All the opportunities are vetted by us before they appear. So we won't get, you know, the local off licence go, oh, I need some free help. You know, there'll be a quality assurance element, so we know that everything that's going on there is a valid, useful opportunity. As I've already said, it's very straightforward to register on, and we've got guidance that we can email to you should you need it. The system will send you reminders when your opportunity is coming out of date, because when you first go onto the site, you put the opportunity on and you can choose how long you want it on there. But you might forget. You might just say, oh, you know, you put it on for a couple of months and then forget that you actually only put it on for a couple of months. And you might want to take it off after a week. But it'll send you an opportunity when it gets towards the end of the 2 months saying, do you want to renew it? Do you want to leave it on? I've already said it syncs with the social media feeds, allows us to track volunteers. It also gives you the option of allowing us to manage your volunteer inquiries. So rather than having to think about dealing with hundreds, hopefully, of inquiries, we can do that for you. The only thing we ask from you, if you do decide to deal with the applications yourself, that you respond to all volunteer applications within 5 days. Now, I appreciate sometimes that's not possible, you know, annual leave, sickness and that kind of stuff. But the thing about the system is you get an automatic response saying, if you haven't responded within 5 days, the system will remind you, and then if you haven't, you'll get a phone call from us. So it might sound quite officious, but at least we kind of know that volunteers are being dealt with, and if they're not, you know, there's a legitimate reason why. Okay, moving on. So I'm not sure whether this will work. So this is the link to the front bit of it, so the website, which has got the search engine on. The website's called Volunteer Bradford Bradford District, Volunteer Bradford District, and it will have all the volunteer opportunities. Well, it'll have volunteer opportunities that cover the whole of Bradford and Keighley, assuming you all register on it and everyone else we're contacting. So let's see if I can get this link to work. Okay, it doesn't like that, but I have an alternative plan because I took a picture of it. So that gives you an idea. So essentially, the key thing about it is it's just a search engine. So volunteers go in and they can search by postcode, by interest, a bit like Do It, by activities or by a keyword. It has some guidance with the little round button, gives them some guidance about how they can decide what to apply for. we also at the moment have a fast track COVID button as well. So, because obviously we get a lot of people who are interested in supporting communities during the pandemic. So if they click on that, that takes them straight through to roles that are relating to the pandemic. This says January because I took the picture in January, but if you go onto the site now, it'll say top opportunities in February. So the other thing we can do is specifically promote new or urgent to fill opportunities, and that's a scrolling screen which shows the top opportunities in January. At the moment, it's mainly got our opportunities on it because we've just been playing around with it. But over the next few weeks, if you're on our mailing list, which all of you are because you're here, you'll receive an email or a phone call from us inviting you to register on the site. If you don't have any current live opportunities, that's fine. I'd still suggest you register on the site because then you've got your login and you can add the opportunities as they pop up, or you can add opportunities now and make them draft. But you'll get all this in an email. If you've got live opportunities now, that's even better. Because the key thing for us is come February, we want to be able to promote this to the public with not just opportunities that relate to what we're doing, but opportunities from a range of organisations from across Bradford. So the idea is, just to finish off, the idea is that Keighley will also be using this site. So if you're an organisation that works in the Keighley district area, you don't have to fill in 2 lots of forms. I'll start again. It all goes in one place. All the volunteering opportunities are in one place. And you'll notice at the top, we've also put a link into Citizen Coins. So it's kind of the one-stop shop for people who want to promote volunteering across the district or find out about volunteering across the district. Okay, I've given you quite a lot of information there. Are you all excited about that as I am? Well, there's a few smiling faces at least. There is a little bit of a sweetener when you sign up to the site as well, but I'm not going to tell you about that until you sign up to the site.
Steve, I've got a couple of comments on there.
Yeah.
As a national charity, and I suspect some of the other charities here, they may well actually, we tend to use the local, these local sites to drive onto our main volunteer recruitment system. So can I actually put, instead of saying, oh, I do all the recruitment on your site, saying, here, click on this link and it will go to the application form on our charitable site, because that I think will be for all of the major, probably for the main national charities who'd want to be looking to use the service for recruitment. And the other one is, the problem with Do It is all you got from somebody was, here's the phone, here's the rest of it. Is it possible to start filling in some form of your own application form to lodge that onto the system so the information comes across actually has the people with pertinent answers and questions to what you are looking for in a volunteer?
Sure. Yeah, I didn't mention that, David. Thank you. The short answer to that is yes to both of those things, with some caveats. So taking your first point, yeah, I completely get that you want people to kind of be driven to your site and fill in an online form. And it's possible to do that via this site once the volunteers are registered on the site, because we want the stats, is the bottom line. But the other thing you can do as well is you can upload an online form to the opportunity on your site. So once a volunteer is registered, they can fill in your form and it'll just appear in your mailbox because you or in your account on the site. So yes, it's perfectly possible to do both those things. Any other questions? There's nothing to stop you continue, Do It will still exist. Do It's a national site. It will still operate in Bradford. It's just we won't be using it. Are you just waving at me or asking? I was waving goodbye to someone who's leaving. Okay. Has no one got any other questions?
I need to go because I've got another meeting. Nice to see you all. Bye bye. Thank you.
Thanks, Joanne. Nice to see you.
Bye-bye.
No one got any questions? Is there anyone?
Oh yes, sorry. I'm kind of quite new. Well, I'm very new to this forum. It's the first time I've attended. So, in terms of our membership of Do It, do we pay a subscription to that? No, there's no fees to be registered with Do It, and there'll be no subscription fee to be registered with this new local site. Then no.
No, there's no fee from Do It.
Okay. Thank you.
You get paid to use our site.
Okay.
Just to say, if you want to say anything, just unmute yourself, and say it if you need to say.
Okay.
I think you can be civilised.
Steve, you talk about individuals volunteering on your site. Within my role, I'm actually, because it's still outreach, I'm going out to some of the communities, and what I find is that they're doing it on their own sort of Facebook page rather than go on to Do It All, or even linking in yourself. I'm just trying to understand why they would do that, because obviously with yourself there'd be a bigger audience.
Well, I think both routes are perfectly valid. We use social media all the time to recruit and publicise volunteers. As you say, I'd suggest if they feel they're getting the response they need from social media, why bother using us? Absolutely. But it's free. They've got nothing to lose by using it, and it links directly to their social media account. So,
okay. No. I mean, the only reason I say that was I went to a community centre in Bradford the other day, and they're looking for, as well as volunteer teachers, they would teach other individuals who would then teach students between Key Stage 2 and Key Stage 2 and 4. And I'm thinking, well, if they put the net a lot wider, they would get a quality of sort of volunteer rather than just in their own community. And when I mentioned about volunteering in Bradford, they just looked at me, well, where's this Hadji? So perhaps it's an opportunity for me to actually go out there and try and promote it, because for me, if they can get that sort of volunteering with a certain skill set, it'll actually work with the community. So
I think you've raised a point there that I can say, maybe our profile's not high enough in certain communities, and I can say I'm still relatively new to Bradford, so it's about time we did something about that. So the more you can do about spreading the word about this is a free resource for them to use, absolutely, that'd be a great thing.
Okay.
Steve, it's one of the things that comes out from there. How appealing is this new website going to be to some of the non-English speaking communities?
Good question, David. We had this conversation with the developers. So we do have a translation tool on it. There's a translation click button at the top of the site. So it's possible to go on there and translate all the opportunities into whatever community language is relevant to them. Yeah.
But in terms of putting in description, trying to actually say to people, yes, we are particularly interested in people, we should say, who can speak Gujarat or Urdu.
Yeah.
Is that part of the factors you can say is one of the things you're really looking for in volunteers?
Well, it depends on the role. Sometimes the ability to speak other languages isn't relevant, but yeah, I mean, we do have a facility to record kind of specialist skills, if you like. So it could be a language skill, it could be people with a medical background. So if you're looking for volunteers with specific skills, the other thing I didn't mention is a bit of a matching facility on the new site. So if you've got an opportunity on the site which you've tagged as needing someone who speaks Bengali, and then a volunteer comes on who also says, I speak Bengali, it'll put the two of you together. Does that answer your question?
Yes.
Okay. Anything else? I must have explained that very well. So you probably will either get an email or a phone call before the end of the month inviting you to join. Because one of the other things I haven't mentioned is GDPR. So the site is GDPR compliant. It's also very secure in terms of the server it uses. It uses a UK-based server as well, and the developer has a proven track record in kind of cyber security, so there's no issues in terms of that. But I've forgotten what I was going to say now. Email it. Yes. Okay. So in terms of data protection, so we had a conversation about transferring, because one of the things we could have asked you is said to you is like, all of you are registered on Do It Now, give us your permission to transfer all your organisations and opportunities onto the new system. We could have done that, and you could have said yes or no, and we could have clicked a button and made it happen. But we decided not to do that because we want you to engage with the site, to feel like, you know, it's your site, yours to use, rather than just being transferred over to it. Having said that, some of your information, just in terms of a contact detail, has been transferred onto the new site because you're on our mailing list and we're using the new site to send you mailings in the future. And we felt we didn't have to ask your permission to do that because you'd already given us permission to store that contact detail on a database. So I'm hoping that's okay and no one's going to try and pursue me in the courts. So what will happen is you might get an email saying, inviting you to change your password because your name's already on the site and you're just logging in and developing your own password in your own account. That makes sense. Bye. I should have said that at the beginning, really. Anyone else before we move on? Okay, Roz, I believe it's you.
Okay, cool. Hi, everyone. I haven't got much to say, really, for a change. I just want to say a couple of things. That if you registered on the site that for students, if you have any students volunteering with you, we're starting to collate details for their higher education achievement record and their and the leadership awards that we're doing in April. So if you know of any Bradford Uni students that are volunteering with you currently, and especially if they're little superstars, just let me know, and we can give them some nice rewards and awards and recognition and all that kind of thing. Our website at the moment is undergoing some changes, and if you've been on it, you might have found it a bit problematic. So what I'm doing at the moment is anyone who's asking for anything vaguely, I'm just referring them to my favourite people, which is mainly Esther, if I'm honest. So you might get a few emails. If you get some emails from students, or if anyone does that's registered with us, and it's not via the Union Cloud site, can you let me know if that's working and who they are, and just so I can keep track of them and count them basically as well, and also to invite them if they wouldn't mind sharing their email address. It'll probably be a Bradford one anyway. We know them all anyway. But if you can let me know who they are, and then I can invite them to join the leadership awards if they've done any volunteering, that would be really kind. Thank you. That's it. That's it from me. Thank you.
God, that was brief, wasn't it?
No. Makes a change.
Okay.
Thanks, Claire.
I'll be brief as well then. Well, I will be brief. Yeah, so everything I'm going to mention here, there'll be more details in it of the things I mention here in the newsletter, which will come out before the end of the week, he says. We've got some updated guidance on our Trello board in terms of volunteering in general, in terms of the involvement of volunteer drivers during the pandemic. Community Action are running some discounted online Zoom training at the moment for people who manage volunteers. So you might want to check out their website, just to give you an example. They've got, but if you're quite new to stuff, or you want to kind of review what you're doing, they've got an organising your volunteer program. It's 2 half days and it's at a discounted price. That's enough advert for them. But there are some other useful courses on the Community Action Training website as well. The other thing we're going to stick on the cello board, which is quite an interesting, controversial topic, is there's some guidance being produced for organisations who have members of staff, organisations who deliver a frontline service who have members of staff and or volunteers who refuse the vaccination. So it's just some guidance around that. Some other stuff. DCMS, Department of Culture and Media, have just announced a large funding round for organisations who support young people. So you might want to check that out. The closing date is the 12th of February. Other thing is our volunteering kite mark, the kind of set of standards to assess your volunteering program. We are having, I don't know if I've mentioned this before, but we're having to change the title of it. So we're calling it a volunteering quality standard. We're not yet allowed to use the term kite mark anymore. So those of you who apply in the future, it'll be a slightly adjusted certificate and logo. And just to say as well, we had one organisation successfully achieve the quality standard this month, and that was Ilkley Manor House. So many congratulations to them. In fact, I shouldn't have told you that because they don't know yet, but there we are. I don't know if any of you have been following the voting of the Community Stars, you know, the annual awards evening for volunteering community groups and volunteers across the district, which generally happens at the beginning of December, but it got delayed this year due to the current situation. So there's an online voting system done by the TNA, and the closing date was relatively recently. So all the people have been shortlisted and voted on, and the announcement of the winners, and there'll be an online kind of awards evening, will be on the 25th of February. Be a big supplement in the TNA on the 25th of February. Couple of things briefly about the COVID related stuff. We do have now some brand new, very nice reusable face coverings, which are available for collection from our main office in Bradford City Centre. They're free, they're handmade, they're adjustable, really nice. So if you're working with any client groups who would benefit from having reusable face covering, just drop me an email and we can arrange for you to have them picked up. The other thing about vaccines, about COVID, I suppose, is if you've got, it's just a request really, if you've got any resting volunteers, so volunteers who aren't doing anything at the moment because you're not running a service, or you've got any volunteers who are keen to get involved with supporting efforts against the pandemic, we are currently recruiting for vaccine support roles. So we've got a number of roles based within a vaccine centre, vaccination centres, some of which are actually clinical roles, but most of them aren't. So anyone who's interested, or anyone who's interested in that kind of role, again, bob me an email. They get very well looked after as a volunteer, lunch, expenses paid, PPE provided, they get the vaccine. Who wouldn't do it? But yeah, just drop me an email if you know anyone who's interested in that. And the last thing was, I was been asked by someone who's a bit of a creative whiz and has in the past has delivered Zoom sessions around creative writing and arts and crafts, and she's wanting to do that in Bradford. So do you have a client group who might be interested in receiving a Zoom session? She has various qualifications, she's got a valid DBS check. Again, just drop us a line and I'll put you in touch with her. Okay, that's the end of me speaking. We had a conversation earlier this week, myself and Esther, and we thought it'd be useful to kind of flag up this next item. So Esther, do you want to just happy to say a few words?
Yeah, I've got no slides, so it's just myself talking. So for those of us who have been around for a while, should I put it that way. There's been a lot of talk about a volunteer passport in the past, and there is a passport scheme that is run by, I've forgotten where, Derbyshire County Council, who are apparently the leaders in it. But it's never been rolled out, but it's definitely high on the agenda as on the back of the Kruger report. And Boris has given the green light for it. So really it's just to sort of like discuss what you think about it, if you think it's a good thing, if it's a bad thing, whether you would be interested in being part of it, if you know anything about it. So it's just really to sort of like have a discussion as to what we feel like as volunteer leaders in Bradford as to whether it's a yay or a nay. So the floor is yours, or shall I say what my thought is about it?
Go
Can
for
you
it.
just explain what a volunteer passport is? I've not come across it before.
Yeah, okay. So basically you would do some core training, which would be around equality and diversity, keeping yourself safe, things like that. And you are given a passport, and so there'll be like a DBS attached to it. So if, for example, I get that passport whilst working at Horton Housing, but I want to come and volunteer at your organisation, I just show my passport and it says that I've got all this training and this is who I am, and you don't have to go through all the other stuff that you might normally go through, basically, in a nutshell.
I think we just thought it'd be an idea to flag this up today as a preliminary agenda item, and maybe have it as a bit of a theme on a forthcoming meeting, because certainly across the region there's certain people are quite keen to kind of look at something like this, because you know, on the surface at least, it might appear to cut down on unnecessary admin, but it's really, you know, it's really your thoughts. So yeah, but as Esther said, that's kind of the essence of it. It's a way to be able to move already trained and DBS checked volunteers between organisations easily.
Yeah, I have reservations about it, because my main reservation is that I think it's going to be some sort of like elitist passport, and that because the way that they run it through Derbyshire County Council is it's very, very orientated to white middle class female volunteers, and the training they have to do is very, very generic, which is fine. It's just that I don't think it's really, I personally don't think it's inclusive, and I think that's what myself and Steve were sort of like talking about, is that, is this actually going to be something that's restrictive rather than something that's actually going to open up volunteering for all? And on the back of it as well is the government's idea of a national reserve of volunteers. That sounds a little bit like an army. Oh, you know, so I think these are things that, because it has been given the green light, I think we need to think about, because you know, they might just decide that this is going to be bulked in with some of the £500 million worth of funding that's apparently going to be released. But I think we need to be ready for it anyhow.
Esther, do you think it meets a need in any way? I mean, I'm brokerage, so I'm not, you know, I don't see volunteers as much as you do in terms of working with them directly on projects. But do you think it does meet a need in terms of people coming to you and then knowing that they've had basic training? Would it actually solve the problem, or is it just something that they're doing to try and make people feel important?
I think they're trying to avoid, well, I think the idea of a volunteer passport is to try and avoid duplication and sort of encourage micro volunteering, which is community volunteering, which has been massive within COVID. But I think having a one-size-fits-all approach doesn't work, and that's why we have different approaches to recruitment and training and induction. And yeah, I think they're trying to make it easier for people to volunteer for multiple organisations at the same time.
Yeah, I can see that, but I can then also see people like especially smaller organisations going, well, we'll only accept people who have that, which then means you're asylum seekers, people disconnected from the community aren't going to get involved. Other organisations would still be going down that route. And then I've just gone through the training for St John's for the vaccination programme, and that's a one size fits all. They don't care about your background. You've got to fill all these modules, which I completely get as a volunteer coordinator when you try to get 30,000 volunteers up and running. But the whinging from other volunteers about, oh my God, I can't do my safeguarding again. I only did it last week at work. And so if you do a if you do an induction training at the volunteer centre, and then they come to us, and then I make them do 6 hours of induction into us, and then they've got to do the project specific induction another 6 hours on top, they might start getting like, when do I start, or when does the training stop?
Yeah, and I think that's the benefit of it, isn't it? Is to make it easier, but I'm not 100% sure. As you were like saying about accessibility, isn't it? And there's always the presumption about a lot of these passport. When I've been reading what the council does, is that a lot of it's online, it's in English, so you've got to have a certain level. So I still see it that, especially for certain areas within Bradford, I think it's going to be a disadvantage, not an advantage, but me.
Yeah, I certainly agree with that. Sharon from HF team, I support people with learning disabilities into volunteering and hopefully employment, if that's the long-term goal. And I thought, oh, some training, because I think some of the people we support have lacked opportunities in the past to be able to kind of present at an interview or present to an organisation that there'd be a contribution. So I thought, oh, the training sounded really, oh, that's good. But then, no, it isn't, because we would be limited on IT skills.
It is only Derbyshire County Council, so I mean, myself and Steve, we were like talking, we don't know how the government are thinking of whether it would become through the volunteer centre, the passport.
Right.
It's just something that's been rumbling around. For a couple of years, should we put it that way? But because Boris has signed off the proposals and put some money into it, it's possible that it's going to happen this time. Who knows?
Right.
Boris.
Because I think you're quite right in saying, because I thought, oh, that'd be quite a positive outcome with some of the training, and then I thought about the different learning styles just generally, but in particular the people with learning disabilities that I work with and support. No, I mean, kind of, if we were going to a volunteer placement, sometimes it's let's do it first rather than say we will do it, and it kind of like almost like a working interview, which we do for employment, or we try and instigate. It's like, and that would kind of rule that out. So I think maybe in the long term, I think you're very right. I think it would be a disadvantage to certain groups.
Yeah, I think it's good for like perhaps emergency response type of volunteering.
Is it? Right. Oh, right.
No, I think it would be good for that, but I think they're wanting to do it for all volunteering, but I think it tends to lend itself to that, like as Ruth was saying, it means that you've just done one lot of safeguarding training, not 4 lots if you're going to be...
Right. Oh, right. Thank you.
No, thank you.
Sorry, I think I agree with you there, Esther. I think it won't come across as inclusive. I've actually volunteered at Bradford Magistrates Courts, and you'd think, especially Bradford, and I did it for 3 years, and when you then have a look at the individuals who go there, I mean, I volunteered for witness services, so helping the witnesses through their journey through the courts. And when you then saw the fact that you then had over 50% of the individuals who were coming were from the BAME community, and yet when it came to the volunteering side, I was the only person of colour there. So straight away there were individuals who were coming in there, and once again I was then talking to the communities to say, why are individuals, it isn't because they don't want to volunteer, they volunteer within their own community because of language barriers, they feel comfortable. Sometimes one of the things that you quite rightly said, the fact that, you know, you get a sort of white middle-aged lady, and straight away individuals feel intimidated. So I think with this, having this volunteer passport, I think it would create another barrier perhaps for individuals to come forward.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. Yeah. So I suppose we've got to watch this space, have we, Steve?
Yeah, I mean, I suppose the Derbyshire version's been around for a number of years now, and I would have thought if it was that useful and that effective, it would have been picked up before now. I know certainly we've been having conversations with the health service about it, and I don't know if a colleague from the health service is still here. No, but yeah, they're very keen on the idea of a passport. But yeah, I mean, I completely agree with all your reservations that you meant or highlighted so far. What I wonder if it would be useful, because I do have various examples of both the Derbyshire passport and alternatives that are kind of in the pipeline. So I wonder if it would be useful to maybe have a meeting themed around this and actually have a look at what these things mean. Because if it's going to happen, and there's nothing to say we have to, you know, as individual organisations, you don't have to do this unless, you know, there's some kind of, you know, they make you do it through some kind of means of withholding funding or whatever, some kind of mechanism like that. But if it's possible to kind of mould it locally and make it a bit more accessible, I think that'd be a useful conversation to have.
Who would be responsible for administrating it and rolling? Would it be you? Would it be Volunteer in Bradford or council? Do you think, Esther?
Well, that's a good question. In Derbyshire, it's Derbyshire Council.
Right. Is it not via the volunteering centre?
No, once you've got your passport and done your training, they then send you on to the volunteer centre.
Right.
So that's another barrier in itself, isn't it? Yeah.
Because if it was more joined up, then you could put some caveats in place and some things in place to try and balance everything out a bit and make it into a useful tool rather than something that's unhelpful. You know, you could design it to fit the community, couldn't you?
Yeah. Or design it just for micro volunteering. Or I know the NHS love the idea of it, but that's because it's easier to become Prime Minister than it is to volunteer in NHS.
She's not here. She's not here. She's gone.
Honestly, like 6 months it takes. 6 months. Yes, painful.
Although, having said that, I know it's not technically volunteering for the NHS, it's for RBS. I've got to say, I don't know if anyone else is registered as an NHS responder. That was really quite a straightforward process.
Yeah, it was, yeah. But normal, like traditional volunteering roles prior to COVID. We worked with Bradford BRI, and we had 6 of our clients that went to volunteer, and it took one of them 9 months to get all the paperwork sorted.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's often the issue with larger organisations. Naming no names, but I can think of examples of national bodies who provide services who if people are really, really keen, I tend to move them towards, you know, smaller organisations, because they just sometimes get lost in the bureaucracy of it all. The system just takes so long to click into place. And as you say, it can take months before someone actually starts volunteering.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks for that, Esther. I get the feeling that this warrants more discussion. So maybe if anyone, unless anyone has any objections, we could maybe make this the main agenda item on a forthcoming meeting, Ros, yeah?
Yeah, good idea.
And we'll try and circulate some stuff for you to have a look at beforehand, so then we can have a kind of bit more of an informed conversation.
I think certainly having a if you have time, having a chat with Derbyshire about, you know, that the person that administrates it or any of the volunteer organisations that use it. I don't know, from everyone's perspective, I mean, it's a bit of a thing, isn't it? But if you can find someone to talk to about what they really think,
yeah,
and if they wish they'd done it a bit differently, we can maybe learn from their mistakes.
Yeah. Okay, that's the kind of end of the formal agenda. Anyone got any pressing information, or it doesn't have to be pressing, just some positive news or any issues they want to share? No, no positive news at all. Okay. Any burning issues? Any useful information? Sonia.
Hi, sorry I'm back. That other meeting was just not as enjoyable as this. I've come back to this one. Yeah, just to say that we've got, for Bradford libraries and museums and galleries, we've got good news, as in we've got the Culture Recovery Fund, which is money to all the so-called crown jewels of the UK. So obviously museums, galleries, libraries, theatres, they're all having a really bad time now, really seriously. So the government have given us some money for Culture Recovery Fund via DCMS, Department of Media and Sport, and Culture. And we've got quite a few new roles until June now. So some people may see that. So we've got like family offer, how to get more onto the digital offer because people can't come into the buildings. So again, the digital thing is really massive for us. So how can we do things for schools and visitors and tourists and people for museums and libraries and galleries online? So we're having a look at all that. So we're all, and our volunteers obviously haven't been able to come in, but we are meeting every 2 weeks as for a coffee morning, which has been brilliant. And we're coming up with other things for them to do, like there's virtual book clubs. We've got 2 great gardening volunteer teams for Bolling Hall and the Industrial Museum now. And I've now got a volunteer facilitator who's going to start with me under this funding called Usman Mahmood. And he's brilliant, so I'll introduce him to the next meeting as well. And he's going to concentrate just for the funding, only funds him until March, now extended until June, but to try and generate a new diverse volunteer work pool, which we're trying to get, which can inform staff as well, which is one of the meetings I've just been on. So he can concentrate Cartwright Hall Art Gallery, look at the area of Manningham, and try and get all our elderly and young Pakistani guys in to help on volunteers, because we get a traditional kind of volunteer, and we love our elderly volunteers, our elderly ladies who come as well, mainly, usually. Don't want to lose them, they're fantastic, but we also want to get a new broader range in, and particularly towards job training and skills and helping young people now, because we know we're going to get a raft of young people and 40-year-olds and 50-year-olds out of work now. So how do we help with those skill trainings, which we can do in museums and libraries? And then the other good news is we've got, has people heard of Kickstart, the apprenticeship scheme? So that's another government funding, again, envisaging this loss of jobs coming up. How do we get the 16-year-olds to the age 16 to 24 into work and jobs? So we've got 3 apprentices starting under me now for museums and galleries, which I'm really pleased with. And we've got 6 for libraries. So again, and they'll be looking at particularly the computer side, how to welcome people in and use computers in the libraries and do CVs and that kind of thing. So the 3 under me will be in museums, and there'll be jobs that we'll advertise soon. They're minimum pay. You have to be on universal credit and you have to be 16 to 24. So you have to go through your job coach. But again, it's kind of, it's that next step up, I suppose, from volunteering to work experience, getting a bit more in the job world. So that was good news for us. It's quite a lot of hard work, but I think it's definitely the way to go. But it also infiltrates into the workplace. And I know I've been on a lot of meetings this morning and this week about trying to change the nature of volunteers in your strategies and embed it into the workplaces. So, and getting volunteers much more valued, and the importance, just like the work staff, they are just as important of your employees as your employees. So that's the good news from us, and I'll share those roles as they come up. And hopefully, I'm wondering, talking about your new website, which looks brilliant for this kind of thing, can we offer paid roles and apprenticeships as well?
My initial reaction to that is no, because it's supposed to be for volunteer opportunities. But maybe we could have a look at.
Yeah, I'm getting into that area because it's for volunteer areas,
Yeah,
working with me and volunteers.
Yeah.
So it's getting that crossover. I know it happens to advertise.
The beauty is it's ours, so we can change it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just going back to what you were saying earlier in terms of gardening roles. So are you saying that you've got volunteer gardening roles that are active at the moment?
Yes. So no one can, at this very minute, well, it's been a nightmare, hasn't it? Because lockdown's gone on and off. So when we first hit lockdown, vaping, when we first hit lockdown in March last year, obviously everything closed overnight, and all our volunteers who normally do a million things couldn't come in. And then we were told you might be able to let outside volunteers come in as long as you do outside. So our gardens at Bolling Hall need doing, as do some of them at the Industrial Museum in Eccles Hill. So I advertised, and I've now got this fantastic team of horticultural Shipley College students, level 2, who are now volunteering, as well as some retired and other people, not just the students, who have formed this fantastic group. But then when we're in an actual lockdown like this, they can't know. It's the law, isn't it? That if a policeman stopped them, how would they explain they were all getting together in the grounds of Bolling Hall? It's not work. It's not essential work, is what it's classed as. So there's this, so at the moment they're getting together on Zoom and they're planning and they're looking at, the Tudor style gardens, natural dyes, folklore, what they can do with primary schools when we open again. So it's planning at the moment. But if we get into tier 3, we could hopefully look at that again of can they actually go into the ground. So it's been good at the moment. Now I'm actually buying tools, planning with them, what do they want. So as soon as we can open, we're ready to go. But the Bolling Hall gang are always needing more volunteers because the grounds of Bolling Hall is huge. And so far I've got about 3 or 4 ladies. So it would be good to get some more volunteers who love gardening and want to, or just want to help. We're happy for any level to go in. And that's on our website, bradfordmuseums.org/get involved. Those roles are on there, so I need to get them uploaded onto your. But really, at the moment, I've been told you shouldn't actively be advertising now. But I'm quite happy to let the word out, because then as soon as we open, the way this is going, open, closed, open, closed, open, closed, I'd rather just get a load of people on and ready and knowing each other. We meet every 2 weeks at 10:30 for coffee morning, all of us, the 50+ volunteers for museums, and we have a great time and we all share, what everyone's doing. And they've started other things like book clubs and all this other thing to do in the meantime, libraries. So keep an eye on that Get Involved page.
I'll have a look at that. Thank you, Sonia. Anyone else? No? Are we reaching a natural conclusion? Looks like it. Okay, I think it's. I'm not being presumptuous, Ross, to say that the next meeting will be on a Monday. Is that right? Probably. Where are we now? Early February, aren't we? So it'll be early March because we've gone to monthly. So we'll send you the date through once Ross has decided when it is.
It's not up to me. Well, has anybody got a Monday that they really can't do? Seems though you're here. Do anyone want to veto any early March Monday? I'll give you a moment to check diaries if you want. Actually, let me just have a look at mine. Oh, is Monday the 9th all right? Yeah, talking of vetoing, I can't do the 3rd. Sorry, Monday the 8th. Sorry, Monday the 8th. Is that okay?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. Excellent. We'll do it then.
Is that 1 o'clock?
Is that all right? Is that a good time for everyone? Obviously it is because you're all here. 1 o'clock's quite a nice time for me, so let's make it. Okay.
Well, we might have children back in school at the 8th of March.
Yes.
Oh.
Imagine the bliss.
If we do, we all have a glass of wine.
We'll do
Steve. I might get a vape like Steve and just vape all the way through with some wine.
That's the beauty of Zoom, isn't it? Is it? Well, that's Zoom etiquette. Is it rude to vape during the Zoom meeting?
Yeah. Can you smoke?
I wouldn't do it if I was delivering training or something.
Yeah.
Oh, I've got nicotine. Same thing. You just can't tell that I've got nicotine mint in.
Or 20 patches on your sleeve.
Okay, thanks, guys. Unless anyone's got anything else.
Back to homeschooling.
Yeah. So we'll aim to get this on YouTube and a subsequent newsletter out kind of as soon as we can, I think. Yeah. Thank you.